Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 118 of the Runnin The Paint Podcast. I'm Miles here with Joey, Nick, and Jackson. Guys, how are you doing today?
Feeling good, feeling great. Happy to see you guys after an Easter Sunday.
We're so back, full squad. I think playoff mode is officially activated for the Runnin The Paint squad.
Let's do it.
Can't complain. Love the playoffs, man. Best time of the year in basketball.
Quick shout out to our sideline TNT All-Star. I don't know if we can clip it into the pod, but we'll definitely put a clip of added in after of my boy Miles rooting on DG from the sideline in Game 1, baby.
Heck yeah, got to go to Game 1 of that series. Fun game in the second half. I got to go down to the seats right behind the Heat bench. Shout out to Uncle Joe for those awesome seats. Sitting there for the second half, I'm just like, man, when you're a fan and you get to go to a playoff game, you got to go crazy. Home court advantages are real, so you got to go crazy. So I made sure to go crazy for every play in the second half. And I like to think I played a little part in the Cavs taking a 1-0 lead in the series. But anyways, we got a lot of game ones to talk about. Every series started over the weekend, so we're going to talk about every single game one, at least in some capacity. So before we get into that, let's get into PERTL like we always do. We've got the full squad back at it once again, and Nick has had our golden touch of PERTL guesses recently. So let's see if he's got another one. Nick, who should we guess?
Jeremy Grant.
Jeremy Grant from the Blazers. Let's see here. All right, not bad.
Higher jersey number.
All right, clearly this is Tari Eason. Just right off rip, it's Tari Eason.
Forward could mean forward guard or forward center. I don't really know what that little indicator is.
I'm gonna guess it's center because the guy's taller than 6'7", 6'8", or 6'9".
So his position we're thinking is like forward center.
Mm-hmm.
How tall is Tari?
No, Tari's not a center. He wouldn't be a center.
I think
he wouldn't be a forward center, but I think everything else would fit. And not in the Northwest Division.
Big Tari Eason fan.
Not in the Northwest.
Let's see.
Wait, could it be Jabari? Hold up. No, he wears number 10. Wait.
Jabari.
Who does that eliminate? Minnesota, Memphis? Oh, no. That's
Minnesota, OKC, Utah, and
Denver. Yeah.
Oh, Portland. Could it be Jaren Jackson then?
Jaren Jackson Jr. Could be. Want to try him out?
What number does he wear?
I feel
13?
like it's too obvious, but also
13.
fits everything.
It could be
Yeah. Let's try it out. Jaren Jackson Jr. Very close. So this guy has to be a forward/center, 25 years old.
It's Zion. No, not the right
1.
number.
He's at the buffet.
Yeah. It is in the Southwest Division, and I always love to think, so 25 years old, he was drafted in the 2018 draft class.
Yeah, that's my age. That's why I said it.
28
Brandon Clark.
Yeah, 20.
Mind.
Okay, no. Eastern College. I was going to say RJ Barrett, obviously.
Brandon
Cam
Clark.
Reddish is out of the league.
Well, Brandon Clark is on Memphis.
Oh, wait, yeah.
Other team.
So, is it a Houston Rocket? I don't think.
I don't know it. I don't know who it would
This is
be.
a tough one.
This is a tough one. So this is either going to be Houston, Dallas, New Orleans, or San Antonio with the Southwest Division.
Could it be Maxi Kleber?
Now he's on the Lakers. He was in the Luka trade.
PJ Washington?
PJ Washington.
Is PJ?
Is PJ 25? He could be right around.
I was like,
there.
he's right around that age range. I know that.
Would he be a center, though?
It's this forward-center thing that's throwing me off, man.
I'm good with PJ. I feel like that's a good guess.
All right, let's go.
It could be Sandro.
Oh, Sandro Mamukelashvili. Let's try PJ Washington. Dang, it actually might be.
It's Sandro. Chalk it up.
Oh,
is it actually Sandro?
Oh my God!
Boom!
Mamu.
We could have had that on 3 if we listened to Goggin today.
Sandro Mamukelashvili. That's insane.
Not as good as speed, but it's okay.
From Jeremy Grant to Sandro Mamukelashvili.
Yeah, let us know down below how long it took you guys to get to Mamu. There, we were able to get it in 4. That was a tough one though, but we were able to get it in a decent amount of time. But now let's get into playoff basketball, man. After all these months of the regular season, we finally had our first, playoff games over the weekend here. So let's go in order. I guess maybe from best to worst, if we want to call it that. Let's start off with the best game of the weekend, which was the Denver Nuggets LA Clippers game, which went into overtime. The Nuggets ended up pulling out the 112-110 victory to take the 1-0 lead in the best-of-7 first-round series. This was a fantastic game. In the first half, the Clippers really had their way against that Nuggets defense. They looked fantastic. Nuggets didn't really look that great. But as soon as Denver started to pick up the effort and intensity, they started to get back into the game.
Yeah, like you said, the Clippers pick and roll was undefeated with Harden and Zubac for most of the first half. Like, they got whatever they wanted. And then Denver did pick up the physicality, and that made a difference. But in the last episode, one thing I said was the thing that I really value most about the playoffs is, like, star players. But also, I said continuity. What I meant was, like, how often you can get to, like, a specific your best look. So, like, Jokic and Murray are still undefeated. They got to that look as often as they wanted to in the second half, and that really is what carried them. Because, like, James Harden was unbelievable, and Kawhi still looks really good on both ends. But, like, Murray and Jokic just made it happen. Obviously, Russ, we can talk about Russ. I don't know if you guys saw any meme, but he did, like, the Mario Kart, like, someone synced the Mario Kart music to each play that he had, and it's literally like a mystery box when...
Yeah, you get the ultimate roller coaster with Russell Westbrook, and you got that in this game with the clutch shots at the end of regulation, him not even getting up a shot, going into overtime, and then making the game-winning steal there at the end as the Clippers were trying to inbound. This really was a crazy game, and this is hopefully going to be the first of many great games in this series. Because coming in, obviously, Nick and I were the only ones here for the playoff preview, but we both agreed that this was probably going to be the best series going in. What were your thoughts about this series and the first game overall?
I definitely was we were talking in the pre-pod lobby. It's a shame that they're consistent that the 4-5 is on NBA TV because, like we're going to talk about with the Pacers and Bucks series in the East, like this is the Clippers and Nuggets is one of the best series in the West right now, at least the first round. And it's going to be a great game or a great series. The first one was hopefully a tell-all, like you said. I'm just very excited for it. I think the Nuggets will pull it out just because of having – I'm always just going to go with the best player.
You had Nuggets in 6, right?
I think so, yeah.
I got them in 7. Jackson had Clippers in 6, and Miles has Clippers in 7.
Yeah. I mean, all different and spread across the board, which I think is only right for this series. Jackson, what were your thoughts about the way that one of our favorite players from this season, James Harden, played in that game, the way he was able to just cook up that Nuggets defense to start the game and then eventually trying to close it out?
I thought he played great. I mean, I've seen him in the playoffs. Everyone always says he's like a playoff choker, but he's not. He's a great playoff player. Don't let the team in red fool you that he used to play for. But
fear the beard.
Excuse me.
Fear the beard.
But yeah, I thought he played great, obviously. But one thing that kind of stood out to me in the fourth quarter that kind of helped Denver come back was they went away from what they like. Because this is actually the only game I watched of the first games. They went away from their bread and butter that they were working with in the first 3 quarters, and that was Harden and Zub, just that pick and roll. That's where they were getting all their looks from. That's where they were getting everything from in the first 3 quarters, and they just went away from it for some reason, and they hardly went to it. It seemed like. So I think if they can just do that, like keep cooking with those two, I think they have a good chance of winning the series.
Yeah, to your point, Jackson, it seemed like the whole first half they were getting all their points really from Harden and Zubac's pick and rolls, and Harden getting layups, Zubac getting those hook shots. And then in the fourth quarter, it kind of seemed like they were content with letting Kawhi Leonard isolate, and he had a good shooting game, but he had 7 turnovers.
Yeah, they had 20 as a team.
Yeah, when you look at the stats for this game, everything's pretty even across the board, except for really the shooting, where the Clippers shot, way better than the Nuggets did. But the way that they were able to even that out was that LA had 20 turnovers compared to just 11 for Denver. And that's honestly not where I really thought that the Nuggets would have that great of an advantage. But they were able to play great, with forcing the turnovers. That was a huge reason why they were able to get back in it, because at first, to start things off, I'm like, man, how are they cannot keep going like this, because they didn't look good. They didn't look like they were ready for the moment to start, but credit to them, they picked it up.
100%. You're not going to win many games with 20 turnovers, so I'm assuming they're going to clean that up, but that's a huge win for the Nuggets.
Yeah. Something that I'm interested to look at going forward with this series is just the rotations for this series. Because, in this game, Russell Westbrook plays a lot down the stretch. Michael Porter Jr. goes to the bench. Got to give credit to, head coach David Adelman there. And just his 4th game as a head coach, which is still ridiculous, not being like, all right, Michael Porter, you're having a rough game, not really giving us much impact on either end of the floor. I know, playing Russell Westbrook through those games, and Westbrook ended up making more of the bigger plays to help them win the game. But when you look at the second units for both of these teams, of course, the Clippers have that advantage going in. Denver, it honestly was even worse than I thought it would be going into this game. They really could only rely on Westbrook to play off the bench.
Yep.
Peyton Watson only played 14 minutes, was a -8. They got 5 minutes from Pickett, -8. And that's all they played. We didn't see any Julian Strawther. Didn't see them go to DeAndre Jordan at all as a backup 5. They played Aaron Gordon as that backup 5, which didn't really work out that great either. So I'm interested to see how the Nuggets will deal with the non-Jokic minutes in this series, while the Clippers, have a pretty decent bench with guys like Batum, Bogdanovic, Derek Jones, and even Ben Simmons had an okay game. But, the Clippers are able to play 9 players. Denver only really went to about 6.5, and we'll see if that will tire the Nuggets out as the series moves along.
Yeah, Clippers got to cut down that rotation down to 8 players. Get that one dude out of there.
He was guarding Jokic.
Zub?
No, Simmons.
Yeah, he was. Him, Batum were guarding him.
Yeah.
Jokic obviously is a tough matchup, but everyone really played well. All the stars really played well. You have 3 players for Denver score over 20 with Murray, Jokic, and Aaron Gordon, who had 25 points. He had a huge game.
Yeah.
And then LA with Harden's 32 points, 11 assists, Zubac 21, and Kawhi had 22. So both these teams played great. I don't really know how much you can, you could definitely take away a lot from this matchup. We'll just see which coach can adjust more in this game 2, which is occurring tonight as we're recording this. We'll already have the results of game 2 after this one, but definitely excited to see the rest of this series go further, because if it's like this first game, this series is going to be a treat.
110%.
All right, let's move on here to probably the biggest shocker of all the game 1s, and that was Minnesota blowing out the Lakers in game 1, 117-95. I think a lot of people have the Lakers winning the overall series in somewhat convincing fashion here. I definitely thought Minnesota could look good against the Lakers, but I definitely did not have them getting a blowout win in game 1. I mean, that type of stuff just doesn't happen.
Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid show in LA, man. Tough to lose by 18 in your first home playoff game since, what did we say, Miles, 2012?
Yeah, 2012 was the last time the Lakers hosted a home playoff game.
It was tough because, they were up, 7 or 8 after the first quarter, and it looked like, all right, Luka and LeBron are ready to go. Like, Lakers are here for the playoffs. But after that, they just kind of went away. And I do think, physicality was a difference. Like, if you were watching the game, Minnesota was just a more physical, more aggressive team that was, attacking the rim and attacking the ball when LA had it. And, I also wrote down here that Minnesota had 21 fouls compared to just 10 for LA. So.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't even notice that part of it. Yeah, Minnesota committed 21 fouls, the Lakers just 10. And not really able to take much advantage of that. I mean, on the Lakers side of things, besides Luka Doncic, who had an incredible 37 points, he looked great offensively. No one else really had that crazy of a game. Like LeBron, you can look at the box score offensively, 19 points, 8 of 18 shooting. He looked great defensively, had a couple of those chase down blocks that we're so used to seeing. But, I mean, if the Lakers are going to win this series, they need LeBron to play better. Like especially if Minnesota's role players are going to be playing like this.
Not just LeBron. They need everybody to step. They need a Reeves. They need Hashimura. They need everybody who can, Dalton Connect. Like whoever they're playing in that rotation, they got to step up and make all their shots.
Yeah, Reeves only hit
as much. They just got to help out as much as they can.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Reeves. Reeves had 16 points. I believe he only had 2 in the first half. That's just not going to be it against a Minnesota team that is very good defensively. But this was just not what I thought would really happen. Like the role players playing better for Minnesota on the road than the Lakers at home. I mean, Minnesota definitely has the edge when it comes to those supplementary pieces. But when you're the Lakers, I mean, the guys have to step up. I mean, Luka having 37 of the 95 points just shows that no one else really had it going. I mean, off the bench, they had 13 points from their bench. And their highest scorer off the bench was Dalton Connect, who wasn't even in the rotation. He got 5 points in garbage time at the end of the game. So we'll see what JJ Redick decides to do. I get the feeling that going into game 2, which is tonight, I don't know if they'll make too many schematic changes. He was talking a lot about the game, about how his guys just weren't ready for the physicality of the playoffs that the Timberwolves were going to bring. So I don't know if he may just be thinking adjustment-wise, we may not really have to change up many things X's and O's wise. Our guys just need to play harder and knock down shots that they've been making the second half of the season.
They're a good team. They just got to get that experience, and they'll figure it out with LeBron leading you. And Luke, LeBron and Luka. Luka was just there last year. And that's the thing. They definitely can't overestimate. Like, yeah, you're the Lakers. Yeah, you have LeBron and Luka. Yeah, you're hosting the playoff series. Like, you have home court. But this Timberwolves team was in the conference finals last year. You can't overlook them.
And Minnesota, a team that went to the conference finals last year, and a big reason was because of how well they played on the road. When you think about, some of their biggest wins last year, I mean, we remember the Nuggets series last year. That was a series where, games 1 through 4, the road team won. Game 7, Minnesota won in Denver. They obviously took care of business in Phoenix in games 3 and 4 last year, and their only win in the conference finals was on the road. So this is a team that does play very well on the road, and that's something that the Lakers are going to have to be careful about in game 2. They can't just be thinking that the Wolves are going to be satisfied with taking game 1. They're going to LA to try to take both games, and so the Lakers are going to have to be prepared.
Sure.
Yeah, I think Randall also played very well. Even he did have 7 turnovers, but I think he was a good facilitator for the offense, and he played well. Obviously.
You love saying that 7 turnovers about Julius Randle.
Oh, 100% now. I'll give him his flowers, but yeah, I just think, I don't know, Minnesota, I feel like is just coached better because they have the more experienced playoff coach, which is tough, but also Reeves has only been in the playoffs, the
last 2 years.
This is his first time being a big piece though,
Yeah, I see what you mean. This is the first time that he's actually being looked at as a star, because I think you could say he could be looked at as a star with how good he's been.
Well, and getting game trade, he's probably been their second option on most nights, right? He's averaging.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah,
LeBron's probably the third option now. But I think, I don't know, and I think their lack of size also, they were running a small ball lineup, and Minnesota just kind of picked it apart on defense and on offense. So you can't, I don't know. Didn't they have, DFS at center and stuff?
Yeah, a lot. They played for Finney Smith and LeBron at the center a lot. Jackson Hayes, they started. He only played 8 minutes and was a -11. So Redick didn't like what he saw from Hayes starting. So they basically played small the whole rest of the game. And Vanderbilt didn't play that many minutes. He only played 13 minutes. So honestly, I think that for Laker fans, you guys just have to play better. You guys have to meet the level that the Wolves players are, because, I mean, we've talked about the way McDaniels and Naz Reid and Randall. We haven't even talked about Anthony Edwards, who had a great game facilitating, taking the double teams. Yeah, 9 assists, making, shots when they needed it, when they needed him to. Only had 1 turnover. So he just had a very good game, even though you see only 22 points on 22 shots. He didn't play that great. He played a great game. And if he's going to keep playing like this and making his teammates better, it's going to give the Wolves a great shot for the upset, considering that for the Lakers side of things.
Yeah.
LeBron and Luka had a combined 4 assists, so they didn't really make their guys that much better, as we saw in the game.
Wasn't Ant also guarding Reeves? He kind of took Reeves out of the game in the first half, didn't he?
Yeah, great two-way player, Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still got LA, though, because, we talked about, Minnesota's role players played great. I know me and Miles talked about who we had our prediction episode. I took the Lakers because I just felt like that star power was going to be too much for Minnesota to deal with. And if you look at this, Minnesota made 21 threes in this game. They shot 50%. That's 6 more than their season average, 18 points. That's literally pretty much the difference in the game. I think that LA is going to figure it out and play better. I think we're going to see more minutes from Jackson Hayes. I think that's what they need to do. I think Jared Vanderbilt could get more impactful minutes as well, and I just think they're gonna figure it out. And I still have LA probably Lakers in 6.
Lakers in 5.
It is probably a bit worrisome that Julius Randle can have more assists than Luka and LeBron combined in a game. That is crazy because Julius Randle had 16, 5, and 5, and
he also had
you said LeBron and Luka combined for 4. That's
Yeah, I think Minnesota honestly perfected their game plan for game 1. We'll just have to see if the Lakers can respond, because I honestly think that this just comes down to the Lakers' star players just need to play better. And I think if they do, then they should have no problem in this series.
That's what I noticed throughout, ever since they did the Luka trade. It's some nights they look like the best team, and then other nights it's like
quarter by quarter.
It's very quarter by. It's so inconsistent. Where
we saw that in the game.
That's the thing. Yeah, you see, that's the one thing that really worries me, because Minnesota can be a consistent team, and they will take advantage when you're having that inconsistency.
Yeah, final closing thing before we move on to the next series, the quarter by quarter thing. It really is real, especially when you look at the LA defense. You go quarter by quarter. First quarter, it's 28-21 Lakers. As Nick said, they came out, played great. Luka was knocking down tough shots. In quarters 2 and 3, after giving up only 21 points in the first quarter, gave up 73 in quarters 2 and 3, while they only scored 50. They got outscored by 23 points in quarters 2 and 3. And then by the fourth quarter, while they were trying to make that run to start the quarter, their guys were just tired, it seemed like. They didn't look like they had their legs in their shots. They only got up 17 points in the fourth quarter. So I think LA will play better. I still have them winning the series. But great game 1 win for Minnesota. Anytime you can go on the road and take care of business in a game 1, that's huge. They're one of, 2 teams to take care of business in game 1 on the road. We'll talk about the other one in a little bit. I know Jackson's probably not looking forward to that one. But before we get to that, let's move over to the Eastern Conference for the other 3-6 matchup, where we saw the Detroit Pistons and the New York Knicks. So going into this game, of course, or into this series, it's the series of, honestly, experience and offense versus inexperience and physical defense. And the Pistons, they honestly came to play for the first 3 quarters of things. They looked great. It looked like they were ready for the moment, but then the Knicks turned it up to another level in the fourth quarter, and the Pistons couldn't respond. They gave up a 21-0 run in the fourth quarter, and the Knicks won the game 123-112. Nick, what were your thoughts overall about the way that the Pistons played to start, and then how they kind of just fell apart in that run in the fourth?
Yeah, well, when they came out so strong, I was a bit worried about my Knicks in 5 prediction. That was obviously the first thing on my mind. But no, Tobias Harris was absolutely insane in this game. They just had a lot of production from guys you don't normally see step up, like Malik Beasley. I guess what I'm trying to say is playoffs. It's hard to envision a guy in their first playoff game, Jalen Green, going off for a huge game. And a lot of the Detroit Pistons walked into Madison Square Garden on Easter and said, that isn't going to bother us, and they showed up.
Sorry.
But yeah, Asar Thompson too. One thing I noticed is like he creates a lot of shots for them when Cade doesn't have the ball, and I think that is, I mean, just like his brother, Aman Thompson. They both are really like potential engine offenses at a high level. Like they're just great.
He also had the fastest spin move ever recorded.
Oh, that was ridiculous.
that was like crazy. A Beyblade going down the paint.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Nick, to your point, I think the one thing that kind of stood out about the way that the Pistons played offensively was that their three best players were their veterans. I don't think that that's any coincidence that their three best players were Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway, and Malik Beasley. Because you can look at Cade Cunningham's stat line, 21, 6, and 12. I don't think he had a very good game in this one. Jalen Duren had some nice plays where he got a bunch of offensive rebounds, but overall, I didn't really think he had a good game. Just across the board, there's no coincidence that their experienced guys were the ones that were ready for the moment. And if you're a Piston fan, it's got to be kind of frustrating that you wasted a Tobias Harris 25-point game, because we know in years past how inconsistent he can be on the offensive end. And even this year, he only averaged like 13 points per game. He wasn't a super crazy offensive piece. So for him to give you 25 points, and I think a good 22 of them came in the first half, it's something that you got to take advantage of, because you don't know if that'll happen again in the series. So that's just this is a tough game to lose for the Pistons, especially when you're up 8 points, a few minutes into the fourth quarter in Madison Square Garden.
I was going to say, at least with Cade, I do like seeing his assist numbers be up to 12, even though his shooting numbers, I think I saw it was 8 for 21, wasn't that great. So at least he can get everybody else involved. However, Nick was alluding to the other guys, and I want to talk about another guy for the Knicks, Cam Payne, who I was enlightened pre-pod lobby, just went absolutely crazy.
Yeah, he did. He was like the biggest reason the Knicks made that run offensively. He scored 14 in 14 minutes, and I think 11 of those were part of the 21-0 run in the fourth quarter. And credit to Tom Thibodeau, who, we know for always sticking to his guys, saw that Cam Payne had it going, and he's like, all right, Mikal Bridges, you're staying on the bench for a little bit longer here. He only played 29 minutes, and Cam Payne was great. I mean, got to talk about OG Anunoby, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Jalen Brunson. I mean, it was the stars that really won this game for New York down the stretch.
It's intimidating to play in MSG, especially in a playoff environment. Those Knicks fans have been waiting for a good team, and they have a good team. So I hope the Pistons will be, at least all the young guys, I hope they got a little bit of those nerves out of their system and be ready for game 2, because this Knicks team ain't playing around.
Detroit fans are going to have to wait a little bit longer for their first playoff win since 2008, but I think it'll be coming here.
I keep forgetting it's been since 2008. That is crazy.
The other thing,
they're up 9. Just saying.
Yeah, they're up right now. They're up 9.
Yeah, they're playing well right now. So
the other thing about this is we talked about Mikal Bridges getting benched. That's the second starter that we've seen benched at the end of a playoff game already in game 1. It's MPJ and Mikal. So just something to look out for. Another thing, quick shout out, like Adam, and I was watching the Clippers game, the Nuggets game. Right after Russ hit that 3 to tie it in regulation, Denver needed to stop, and they might have been up 3 and needed to stop. Something where they took Murray out, and I saw Edelman go over to Murray and be like, we're going with Peyton Watson for this possession because we're trying to stop. It didn't end up mattering because Christian Brown got blown by in about 2.5 seconds. And but it was just cool to see that interaction and stuff like that. We were talking about Edelman a little bit earlier. And
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's important at these moments that to not really have an ego. You got to be okay and just really be all in to win. And those role players, Mikal Bridges and Michael Porter Jr. did that in this game, and they will be needed in this series. Mikal's going to be needed in this series. He didn't really have that great of a game 1. OG Anunoby did a fantastic job defending Cade. I think he deserves a lot of credit for slowing down Cunningham in his first playoff game. But overall, the way that Towns played in the fourth quarter and just Brunson was able to get to the free throw line a lot. And then, you have your Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, Cameron Payne, your other role players that really, did a great job for the Knicks as well. But great to see that the Pistons came to play in that one. They're coming to play so far in game 2, which is great. Something that I always worry about with those teams in those situations is, you play great for 3 quarters, on the road, and you give up that 21-0 run. You got to make sure that is not something that boils into the next game or the overall series. And so far, it hasn't for Detroit, but we'll see if they can hold on in game 2. Anything else on this series before we move on?
Detroit in 6 still.
Joey going with the upset. He believes in the Pistons.
I think JB's getting his revenge for when he lost to the Knicks with the Cavs back in the day.
Definitely could be possible. But let's move on over here. We'll go back to the Western Conference for the final close game that we had over the weekend. It was the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets in a very defensive-minded game. The Warriors took it 95-85. Yes, that is a legit score in a 2025 NBA playoff game. The Warriors take game 1 on the road. Jackson Goglin, obviously our big Rockets fan here. And I told him this before we started recording. I am allowing Jackson to have 30 free seconds to talk about whatever he wants here with his Rockets unhinged before we go into deep analysis. So, Jackson, you can start in 3, 2, 1, go.
I like the double big lineup. I think they played really well, and it actually forced Golden State to bring out their own double big lineup. They brought out Quinn and Post and Kevon Looney to play. Didn't work that well because Steven Adams and Şengün were just playing great. But the fact of the matter is Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet is the worst backcourt in the history of basketball. Jalen's borderline unwatchable at this point. I mean, the last couple games. It's honestly embarrassing. How do you
I think you said what I think that was good.
I think that was pretty good. I think that's pretty good, analysis there. Because with Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet, I'm someone who obviously doesn't watch every Houston Rockets game, but I recognize, how great they've been this season. But it's been because of their defense and the backcourt of Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green. I usually give them a lot of leeway with their efficiency because of how rough the half-court offense is overall, because they just don't have many creators. In this game, Jalen Green played bad. I mean, he played bad. There were a lot of ill-advised layups, ill-advised shots. Fred just missed a bunch of shots. And in that starting lineup, besides Alperen Şengün, who was awesome in his first ever playoff game, there wasn't any other production from that starting lineup. It was like the energy guys off the bench that really brought that in. But if you're going to beat this Golden State team, you're going to need more than Şengün to have a chance on the offensive end.
Gonna have to cut Jalen Green.
They definitely need another shot creator. It is very, very apparent that Jalen Green can't do it himself because he can't do it at all. But luckily they have Şengün. A lot of what I was watching was in desperation, they just gave it to Şengün and he converted. But I need Amen Thompson had a good game, defensively and all around, at least with the stats that you posted up there. Looks like he was doing a little bit of everything. However, to take that next step, and it might not happen this year, but next year I'm already looking forward to. I want Amen Thompson to be that shot creator. He can be. He's got the athleticism. His shot can be good, and I've seen it. But this summer, after they get knocked out by the Warriors in this series, he's going to go to Cancun, and he's going to work on his shot. And I really hope he comes back next year ready to just ball out.
Yeah, I mean, this game and this overall series is going to be a great learning lesson for the Rockets, regardless if they come out of the series or not. I mean, overall, this was just fun overall to watch a defensive, ugly, physical game. I mean, it felt like 2005 for those fans watching those old games.
Oh, the commentators were loving it. And who was it, Harlan?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were loving it. They're like, I can't believe this is the game we're getting.
I mean, it was 77-71 with 6 minutes to go. I'm like, my goodness.
35-34 at the half.
Yeah, 34 points. Yeah.
It was a fun game. I mean, I agree with you, Jackson. I think the double big lineup worked. I think Ime needs to get the ball in Thompson and VanVleet's hands more and just kind of do what I think the Clippers kind of need to do with Kawhi, because the Harden Zoo pick and roll works so well. And I think you really need to just get the ball to Fred and Amen and put them in pick and rolls with the bigs that you got out there. Put Jalen Green, like I would with Kawhi, out on the wing, and just let him be like sort of a secondary playmaker off of a catch in space or a slasher. Once a guy already like kind of penetrates, he can make a play off of that. But Jalen Green is getting exposed for the fact that
he's trash.
He doesn't make the people on his team any better. He looks for himself before anybody else, and that is when he's getting clamped up and he can't make that happen, then there's nothing else to go off of.
Right, and it's very difficult because on this Rockets team that, again, is limited offensively, it is good to have you need to have a player that is going to look for his shot, but when it's not going down, it just makes it very tough. We talked a lot about the Rockets. On the Warriors side of things, Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry, my goodness. I know we've talked about it the last few games that they've played. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Wasn't perfect, but dude, Steph Curry made 3 or 4 just ridiculous shots at the end of the shot clock. It is unbelievable. I mean, there are so many possessions where Rockets are playing great defense. I mean, overall, they played a very good defensive game. They allowed the Golden State Warriors to put up 95 points. That's very good defensive performance, and a good 10 or 15 of those points came from the Warriors making some shot clock cheese after great defense. It was ridiculous.
Oh, my gosh. Steph Curry was absolutely just unconscionable. Like, there was, like, what was it? The one that he was running in, like, the corner and, like, fading. It looked like it went, like, 30 feet in the air. And then it just dripped. I don't know how he does it. We saw it in the Olympics last year. We've seen it for over a decade now as, like, him destroying our Cavs' hopes and dreams. And we're seeing it again here in 2025 in the playoffs. Steph Curry is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I saw a tweet or something that summarized things perfectly. For the Houston Rockets, you go through about a 5-year rebuild here with a brand new looking roster. There's no turnover on the coaching staff or roster. And the rebuild, it's turned out great. You're on the other side of things, and you still have to deal with Steph Curry in the playoffs. It's tough. It shows how ridiculous he has been. He finished with 31 points in the game. Jimmy Butler was great again. I think that if he continues to be aggressive like this, Warriors are just going to be tough to beat, because I think that the Warriors have a lot of players who are honestly scared to shoot the ball at certain times, and they know that they have Steph Curry on their team. So there are a lot of times where, whether it's Butler, Podziemski, Moody, Gary Payton, they may have a good shot, but they're like, oh, we have Steph on our team. Let's get the ball to him. And sometimes they, aren't as aggressive. If Jimmy Butler is aggressive like this and Steph has it going, they're going to be super tough to beat here. But it may just come down – this series may just come down to the fact that Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler are very, very good. And the Rockets, despite having great defenders, may not be able to have the answer for those guys, especially on the offensive side of things.
Yeah, the Rockets at least have like a good game plan, it seems, like where they're like, hey, well, we're going to stop all the other guys and let Jimmy Butler and Steph beat us. Unfortunately, Steph and Jimmy beat you. Because like you said, they 95 points to the Warriors is a crazy good feat, but you're not going to get that all the time.
Yeah. Heading into game 2, we mentioned the different types of lineups that they could play, how the bigger lineups worked for the Rockets, and the 3 guys that played off the bench, Tari Eason, Steven Adams, and Jabari Smith, were 3 of their best players. I thought they were fantastic.
All played.
Jackson, as the Rockets fan here, I want to hear your opinion. Going into game 2, should Ime Udoka make a switch to his starting lineup in what is essentially a must-win game? You don't want to be down 2-0, losing both at home, going on the road. Would you make a starting lineup change going into game 2?
I think you can consider it because Amen's playing at the 4 right now in the starting lineup?
Yeah, right now it's Van Fleet, Green, Brooks, Thompson, and Şengün.
I mean, I'd just rather see, like, without Tari played offensively, I wouldn't mind him starting, moving him into the 2 or Tari, but I don't know. I maybe give Jalen another chance, but I'd rather not. So I'd rather see Tari or Jabari, but also I kind of like them off the bench. But maybe give them more minutes.
Yeah, with that energy and stuff. Nick, what do you think about what the Rockets could do in Game 2?
Do the ball on Amen and Fred. I like Fred. I just think he didn't have a great game and didn't really get the matchup that he would have liked probably consistently enough to have a bigger impact. But I like him with the ball, and I share my thoughts.
Yeah, you already did there. Joey, how about you? What do you think the Rockets could do to even this series up in Game 2?
Honestly, just make sure Jalen Green isn't taking like 30 terrible shots. Like I already said, I'm in Thompson next year. I'm looking forward to that. But if he can somehow get it going in the next couple of games, it'll make this series extremely interesting. But he's young enough where I'm not going to expect that out of him in his first playoff experience. So next year, that's where I'm really going to want to see it.
And I could even say the same thing about Jalen Green. I mean, again, the difficult thing with it was his first playoff game. It was the first playoff game for a number of these Rockets players. The thing where it just gets difficult with Jalen Green in that lineup is, you need to play him because he's your only source of getting any perimeter shot creation out there. It's just, you ride very high and low with Jalen Green, and right now he's on the low.
On the wing.
Very ice cold. So honestly, going into Game 2, I think you go with the same starting five, because where I get worried about moving Thompson up a few positions is if Amen Thompson is on the perimeter spacing, Warriors don't need to guard him, and it makes it even harder to score because Thompson isn't a three-point threat at all. He thrives in the middle, in the elbow areas and as a cutter. So on the perimeter, it just doesn't really work. That's why he's great as a four-man. Moving him up to play like the two guard makes things very difficult. So I think you go with the same lineup in Game 2, at least to start. Maybe you explore playing Aaron Holiday or Cam Whitmore for some shot creation or more offense, because that's what the Rockets need. Defensively, they played great. I think you need to find a way to get some more offense injected into the lineup without losing the defense. And I feel like Aaron Holiday is a good enough guy that he's kind of similar to Fred VanVleet a little bit. He's been good this year. Cam Whitmore might be a little too young for the moment, but I could definitely see the Rockets going to a guy like him if he just needs some scoring. And so far, throughout the season and in through one game, they need more scoring. So yes, Overall, though, 4 very fun Game 1s here. We still got 4 more to talk about, but those were definitely the 4 closer ones. Out of those 4 series, are there any predictions that you want to redo? Do we want to does anyone want a mulligan on their first round prediction? 1 game in.
I want Minnesota. I don't know. Did I take Minnesota? I don't even know.
No, you picked the Lakers.
I want Minnesota in 5.
I'm going to stick with mine.
Low key, I might want to change mine to Minnesota in 6.
You just want to be me.
If I wanted to be you, I'd be choosing them in 5.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think I think I'll keep mine the same. Only thing I would change is maybe Lakers in 6, because the Lakers would have to win 4 in a row, and I don't think they'll win 4 in a row. But I think everything else definitely has the chance of happening.
Can I change my Rockets 1 from 5 to 6, maybe?
Rockets in 5 to Rockets in 6. I love it. I love it here. But yeah, man, 4 very fun Game 1s. Let's move on here to the rest of the other Game 1s over the weekend. The first game of the weekend in the Eastern Conference, the Milwaukee Bucks and Indiana Pacers faced off. The Bucks, with great news that Damian Lillard has been cleared from his blood clot. We went over that historic comeback from the blood clot in just 3 weeks. Absolutely incredible. But he was still out for Game 1, and Indiana steamrolled Milwaukee 117-98. Was the victory here. And, this was the game that Nick and I had talked about. With Lillard out of the lineup in Game 1, Indiana needed to take Game 1 before Lillard came back, because obviously if he comes back, it's going to make – you would think it would make a big difference for Milwaukee. But got to give credit to all the Pacers. I mean, they came to play, and they did what they needed to do.
This was exactly what they needed. Exactly what you and Nick were saying. This is the game that they needed with Lillard out, and in front of your home crowd, get the people going, get the crowd and the fans on your side. It was a great atmosphere there for them. And again, they've been there before, and you can say whatever you want about last year being a fluke because of all the injuries and stuff to everybody else. But regardless, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They have the experience. So it's not like they're going to be having all these crazy nerves of going up against Giannis and Dame. They're just going to have to bring their A game. And I think the Bucks can still do it, with Dame especially, but nothing to take away from Indiana. They played a hell of a game, much needed win. Congratulate. Use this momentum forward. Just keep on going.
Yeah. Your Nick, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that it was a great win for Indiana, but the Bucks really need Dame. Obviously, they only scored 98 points in this game, and the Pacers were just able to completely shut down anybody that wasn't named Giannis. I mean, nobody else in the Bucks starting lineup had double figures. They're starting Ryan Rollins, I think, to guard Hallie. I don't know. But
I don't know. They've been playing Ryan Rollins to start basically the whole second half of the season when Lillard has been out. And, dude, you talk about maybe needing to make a starting lineup change. What happened in game one is kind of a perfect microcosm of what has happened the last few weeks on how sometimes the starting lineup besides Giannis is so awful and it gets the Bucks behind, and they come back with Giannis and all four of the second unit guys. When they made their 24-point fourth quarter comeback against Minnesota a couple weeks ago to end the season, that was Giannis and the four other second unit players without the other starters. Because when you look at the starting lineup, this is unbelievable. Giannis had 36 points, 12 rebounds, had a very good game. He only had 1 assist, which is a key thing. He averaged like 12 assists a game to end the season because with Lillard out, they've kind of been playing him as like the point forward. But they just don't have the other threats out there. And in that starting five, Giannis had 36, everyone else 14 points combined in the starting lineup, including 0 for Prince and a Tony Snell 0.0000 stat line for Kyle Kuzma. That's just not going to cut it. That's ridiculous.
Tony Snell is the happiest man on the planet right now because he doesn't have to live that down. Because
he's pissed, dude. Tony Snell's still pissed. They didn't give him his 10 years of service, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Someone sign my boy. Houston, please.
Yeah, for sure. But, I'm excited to see if Milwaukee decides to change their starting lineup in game 2 in other areas besides you just throw Lillard back in if he is healthy. Because Kevin Porter, I thought, had a decent game. He's been good for them as a backup since the trade. Gary Trent and A.J. Green as shooters were good. Portis, they're going to need more than 4 points for Portis. I mean, you can't – in a game where you don't have Lillard, you can't be having a combined 13 from Lopez, Portis, and Kuzma, who are probably your three – next players after Giannis. It's just not good enough. So Milwaukee, this was a game that I expected them to lose pretty handily going in, but not with their other key guys, just not scoring the basketball. You're just not going to have a chance in that when you're going up against a Pacers team that got 6 players to score in double figures. I mean, Turner was great, knocking down 3. Siakam was good. Halliburton with playmaking. And Pacers just look really good. They did what they needed to do. We'll see if Lillard can be good to go for game 2. Because if he's not there, it's going to be tough for Milwaukee. There's no other way around it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I still got Bucks in 7.
I'm
sticking to that.
6. Yeah, I'm sticking with it.
They're sticking with the Bucks. This was the other series that was split. Jackson and I both had Indy. Jackson, how many did you have the Pacers in? 6 or 7?
I don't know. I'll check for you really quick.
I don't really remember, but either way, we both had we all have the series going, pretty long, kind of similar to the Nuggets Clippers, but we'll see. If
I actually flipped. I had Indy in 7, then I picked Bucks in 7.
Yeah, because of the Damian Lillard news. So yeah, we'll move on to the final 3 games that occurred over the weekend. All 3 also blowouts.
I had them in 5.
Wow, oh, you had Indy in 5. Okay. And after game 1, doesn't look that bad. We'll see if anything changes with Lillard back. Moving on here, the OKC Thunder absolutely destroyed the Memphis Grizzlies 131-80. Dude. in a series, where for all these, series, the question is for the higher seed, is rest versus rust. Will that be a problem? Was not a problem for the Thunder. It was close for the first 4 or 5 minutes. Thunder threw that initial punch, and it just kept on coming. I mean, at halftime, I thought, I just don't know. It was like a 30-point game at the halftime break. The Thunder had the Grizzlies doubled up. How do you, as the Memphis Grizzlies, are down by 30 at halftime, somehow play worse in the third quarter, and you're down by 52 going into the fourth quarter before Marvin Bagley hits a 60-footer? That was funny.
That's a very good point. That's probably the most fascinating part, how you can come out of halftime down 30 and go into the fourth quarter down 50.
How do you play that much worse? It's unbelievable.
I can tell you. They fired their coach 2 weeks ago. What do y'all expect? Someone said it's man, this is the worst. What do the Grizzlies have to do? What are they going to do? They're playing historically one of the greatest teams that last year was a great team. And this year, I was telling my dad this when I went over their house yesterday or for Easter. And I was telling him, I'm like, what are they going to do? They can't do it. OKC is the most complete team in the NBA. And I've been saying it since October. And I'm saying it now. They are the most complete team offensively, defensively. There's nothing most teams can do about it, let alone a team as dysfunctional as the Memphis Grizzlies are right now.
I mean, it should say everything that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, leading scorer in the NBA, potential MVP, had his lowest scoring game of the entire season. This is the first time that he didn't score 20 in 72 games, which is an incredible streak, by the way. We didn't really talk about it. 72 straight games with 20 points. Lowest scoring game of the season, and your team wins by 51. Largest win in a game one in playoff history. It's incredible. It shows the depth of this team. They just kept on pushing. I was very impressed with how they played. I definitely thought that it would take them a little bit to get going. That was definitely not the case. And on the Grizzlies side of things, Jaren Jackson can't have 4 points on 2 for 13 shooting. Desmond Bane was a minus 51, worst in playoff history. This is just one of those games I think you just have to truck away and just go into game 2 with just a different mindset. Maybe you play Marvin Bagley more, because since being in the rotation, he's been good. He had 17 points in this game on 8 of 8 shooting. He was pretty good. We'll see if this was just a classic case of Grizzlies, after playing, the play-in game on Friday night, basically played a back-to-back there in a postseason situation, which you usually never have to do. And they laid an egg. We'll see if they can respond in game 2. I have the Thunder, getting this in a sweep. I was just very impressed. I was incredibly impressed by how well they played in this game. There's really not a whole lot of analysis to go with this one.
No, I will change, if I could, change mine to Thunder in a sweep. I said Thunder in 5 because I had hope, but after that game, it was misplaced hope.
Yeah, I don't like mine in 6, but I'll keep it because I predicted it.
Yeah, but Thunder, very, very impressive in game 1. Second to last game, the Boston Celtics defeated the Orlando Magic in game 1, 103-86. In a decent defensive game by the Magic there. And you see there, Banchero and Franz Wagner both played very solid games, particularly Banchero. No one else really could get it going, though, for them, and that really is kind of the story of the Magic season. And then for the Celtics side of things, Derek White had 30 points and hit 7 threes. It's just crazy. You can deal with Brown and Tatum having subpar shooting games when you have, these other great role players. Porzingis only had 5 points on 1 of 8 shooting. Doesn't matter. Derek White can hit 7 threes and go for 30 points, and then Pritchard off the bench had 19 on 6 of 8 shooting.
Pritchard in that second quarter went nuts. Just to start it off.
No, those two did play great. What I feel bad for is Paolo, because, I'm watching this dude play, and, he just doesn't have the team yet to be as great as he will one day be, but when him and Franz when one of them on the bench, it's a problem, because it's just those two creating for everybody. And if the second guy isn't out there, then Boston can just throw whoever's the least. I mean, they got 5 guys to rotate onto one. It's not difficult to do the math about how that's going to go.
No, the amount of times where, the Magic offense was give Powell the ball, and there was one play. I don't remember.
He made some insane plays like throughout the entirety of this game, but it's
he did.
Too much to handle.
Yeah, for sure. But there was like one play where he had like 3 different screens set for him trying to get a mismatch, and there's just not a mismatch in the Celtics starting 5. I mean, it's very, very difficult.
True.
The fact that he had 36 was incredible. I mean, he and Wagner go, let's see, 59 of 86 points. That's crazy. They did a great job. If your 30 leading scorer is Jonathan Isaac with 7, just not going to get it done against the Boston Celtics. But I think both teams honestly did a great job of preventing, the opposition from getting really where they wanted to go. I mean, the Boston Celtics, we know they want to get up a whole bunch of threes. They only took 37 threes, which is not bad, for the Magic defense. And then we know that, the Magic get their offense done in the paint, and they didn't have as many paint points. A lot of their shots were mid-range 2s and the few 3s that they did end up hitting there. So it was a very good defensive game. Both teams, I think, executed pretty well. Celtics just obviously, there's definitely a talent gap there. But I think that's really all we hope for in this series is that the Magic can kind of push the Celtics to make things tough for them, at least as much as possible as it can. But overall, Celtics with a good game 1 victory.
Yeah, it was close for most of the first quarter and most of the first half, really, but just wore them down, and that's what I would expect to see for the rest of the series. Maybe, the Magic can catch fire and go for like 2 or 3 straight quarters of really good basketball, and they get a lead, and then they get lucky or put themselves in a position to win at the end. But, yeah, that's about all I got.
Yeah, no, Jackson, you're picking the Magic in this series. What are your thoughts?
His finals predictions?
I'm sticking.
And he's been silent the whole time. No backup, no evidence as to the pick.
I'm sticking with it. Okay. I got a feeling, man.
Yep, you got a feeling.
Who's going to step up for them?
Derek White's not going to go for 30 every game. That Magic defense is tough, man, and I think
Tatum and Brown aren't going to combine for 30 every game.
Really, that's what Tatum did last year. Okay, that's what Tatum did last year,
and it was easy money. They breezed through.
Yeah, well, Drew Holiday's ancient now.
Who's going to step up for the Magic that you predict outside of Paolo and Franz, because that's all they got?
Well, Paolo's going for 70 next game.
Oh my goodness!
All right.
I
forgot.
I could see KCP having a good rest of the series. I feel like, obviously he's been here, done that before. I feel like it's weird. I don't know. I feel like Corey Joseph might get the boot in the starting lineup, and I could see Anthony Black or Cole Anthony. I feel like Cole Anthony could be a great spark plug as a scorer. He only got 10 minutes. I feel like if you give him 20 to 25 minutes, I feel like he could give you really good production.
Yeah, I think maybe you run a few more plays for KCP to start the game. Because I even remember when he was with Denver the last couple of years, there were a few times where they would give him a couple just easy mid-range shots to just start the games and to try to get him involved. Because, I mean, him only getting 4 threes up when he's your best three-point shooter, you got to get him some more shots, especially when your offense is just not that great.
But, like, simply, you just can't have a point guard who's playing 26 minutes, only taking 1 shot, and only has 2 assists.
And 5 fouls.
Like, you can't do that. I don't know why they didn't give more minutes to Cole Anthony. Like, he's had some really, really good games this year.
And they literally helped him out with the play-in. Like, he just took over.
Like, give him some shots, and he's, like, he'll help you win games. I don't know why they're not doing it.
They're probably scared of the Celtics just matchup hunting and getting Tatum and Brown. That's what I would think. But I think when you're scoring 86 points and it's only Franz and Paolo, you got to at least try something different. So we'll see if, Jamal Mosley will for game 2.
Yeah, I'm not losing confidence, though. As crazy as that might sound, I have confidence in the Magic that they can beat the Celtics.
All right.
Orlando Magic.
Yeah.
We'll see if they can do it. Final game 1 from the weekend. Cleveland Cavaliers take down the Miami Heat 121-100. There's Joey with the Cavs hat right there. Game that wasn't as close or wasn't as dominant as the final score would say. The Heat made things tough for most of the game. But the difference, it was just Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome, man. My goodness, dude. First ever playoff game, he goes for 28 points and just took over the game in the fourth quarter.
Greatest Cavalier ever? Question mark. Not Cleveland Cavalier, but if you take it back to the Virginia days too. But my gosh, what a way to introduce yourself to the playoff Cleveland crowd. Miles, how was that in person? That Ty Jerome takeover?
Oh, it was unbelievable. I mean, I will say just the overall playoff atmosphere, the lead up into the game, especially before game one, is something special. There's nothing like a game one of a playoff series. No matter if you're a championship team, you haven't been there in a few years. There's something special about it, especially when it's the whiteout. Everyone has
game
their
one,
towels.
Round one, game one. By the way, like that. I mean, that's even more different.
Yeah, and especially when you're a 1 seed, and there's definitely a different vibe around town when we all know that the Cavs have a legit chance of winning the championship when we didn't think that the last couple of years. And there's definitely a different vibe to it. And you could see it, before the game. And it was fantastic. The crowd was great. From Miami, Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo were great on the offensive end, specifically Bam and Hero with the floaters. But defensively, big thing I saw was how many times that the Cavs guards attacked Tyler Hero on the defensive end, whether it was Garland, whether it was Donovan Mitchell, whether it was Ty Jerome, and it resulted in all those three scoring 27-plus points. First time that's ever happened for a guard trio in playoff history.
That's crazy, actually. I did not know that.
Yeah, talk about a three-headed snake coming at you. Jeez. I mean, Davion Mitchell ain't no slouch, but to score 27 apiece on any backcourt is pretty insane for a three-guard trio.
Yeah. And honestly, the thing that's just interesting about the game one is I honestly feel like the Heat played a pretty good game, and I thought the Cavs at best had like a B+ or B. I think that they could play way better than they even showed in game one.
Definitely the case. I agree.
I thought actually that the Heat were going to take game one before I found out I was going to the game. I was worried about the rest versus rust factor. And of course, it's Eric Spoelstra and the Heat. And they did play very well, but Cavs ended up taking it, down the stretch there. The way that Ty Jerome has played all year, we've known as Cavs fans, it's been fantastic. And we'll see if they can just keep it up for all of round one here and just try to take care of the Heat. Try to take care of the Heat quickly.
We got this.
Definitely.
And Ty we trust. Add him to the core four.
add him to the core four. Who would we take out, or would we just make it a what would
Fab
it be?
Five, put him on the wall.
Yeah, Fab Five. Yeah, for sure. But those are all of the game ones from over the weekend here. Excited to see what happens as all these series go along here. We do have some things to talk about here with the last two teams that were eliminated on Friday from the play-in tournament. First, the Atlanta Hawks, they fired general manager Landry Fields after 5 seasons there, leading the way to the Hawks front office. What are our thoughts on Atlanta making changes to their front office, firing Landry Fields?
I remember Landry Fields back in my 2K days and him helping out Jeremy Lin in the Linsanity run. But outside of that, not really any great GM moves that he's made. He tried the DeJounte Murray move, and it didn't really work out. And then he got rid of him.
And he got a great package back.
He has done better. But clearly when you make a move like DeJounte Murray did, and you try to do that and have an elite backcourt, and it backfired, and you don't have any playoff success, and then you move on from it, and then you don't even make the playoffs. Well, it's not a good look. They're a young team. They're set up for a good future. However, if you look at it in 5 years, he's taken some swings and he's missed.
I am surprised that they let him go after this season, though, because I honestly think this is a pretty okay year for the Atlanta Hawks.
I think it was a good season for them. I think they have one of the best young, bright futures in the NBA. I think him drafting Jalen Johnson, great pick by him. I think trading for Dyson Daniels, I think he traded DeJounte at the right time, and I think that speaks levels to him as a GM. I don't understand why they fired him right now, because I think he's been good, like decent at drafting. I think he's maybe made the wrong moves, but he's fixed them in the long run. So it just doesn't make too much sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the moves that he made since getting promoted to GM in the summer of 2022, he obviously trades 3 firsts and a swap for DeJounte Murray. That only lasts 2 years. They end up getting 2 firsts back with Dyson Daniels and Larry Nance Jr. Drafting Jalen Johnson, Risa Shea last season. Even Mo Gay the previous offseason, it was pretty good as a starter. I think, honestly, the questionable moves may have come this year at the deadline with trading DeAndre Hunter for LeVert Niang, even though they both played well the second half of the year, and then the Bogdanovich trade. But all those, honestly, I thought were pretty solid. I'm just surprised they made a move right now after a season where I thought it was pretty well, considering that that Jalen Johnson, their second best player, was out for a lot of the season. And if he was healthy, probably would have beaten Miami in that play-in game, because there were definitely areas in that particular ball game where they could have used a secondary guy with the basketball in his hands, and they just didn't have that. So I'm surprised that they didn't give him one more year with this young core, because I agree with Jackson. I think they have a very good team there in Atlanta that is young and only going to get better, you would think. But
agreed. But again, when he took over, what did they do in the playoffs? Because he took over in what?
This was a year removed. 2022. This is a year removed from the Eastern Conference Finals run.
And what have they done since?
Built the great young core.
Lost in the first round to the Heat, lost in the first round to the Celtics, and then they haven't made the playoffs since. Regardless of you building a potentially good young lineup and doing some good moves, and again, I do agree thinking that they are set up for the future. However, coming from a conference finals and then you just don't even make the playoffs for 3 years straight, that's not a good look. It's just
I think we all can agree. So they made it, let's see. So they made the conference finals, then 2 first-round exits after, and then they've lost in the play in these last 2 years.
Or 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, this year and last year. I think we all know that conference finals run was a bit of an outlier. I think they know that as well. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that if they fired him, they wouldn't have done it last year, because this year he, like Jackson said, he may have made some mistakes with this DeJounte Murray trade, at least trading for him. But even at the time, we all thought it was a good trade. It just didn't work out. Mm-hmm. They make up for it this year, getting a Defensive Player of the Year and Most Improved Player finalist this year. They've got a good young core, and now they'll go into the offseason with a new general manager there. I think that it honestly could work out. I just, for him individually, I think it's just tough, because I don't know what else he could have done individually, because he put together a pretty good roster.
Heck, I even think he made the right pick at number 1 this year in a draft that wasn't necessarily like
clear cut,
surefire. I think Risa Shea was the perfect pick for this team moving forward, because he's a guy who can hit threes from the wing. He's a great defender. I think he's perfect alongside Trae Young, alongside Jalen Johnson, alongside Dyson Daniels. They got something brewing up there. And it's not his fault that coaching didn't play Onyeka Okongwu as much, who is another guy that looked really good when he got PT. Maybe he could have traded Capella earlier, but I don't know. I think.
Didn't he hire the coach?
Well, Quinn Snyder? Well, really? The GM isn't the one making the moves.
I know. I'm just saying. Again, we'll get into the other GM that we're going to talk about, and it's the same thing I had for him. There is someone at the top making the decisions. You got to live with the consequences. And the consequences is he hasn't made the playoffs in 2 years, knocked out of the first round in the last 2 years or the 2 years prior. He hasn't done anything. And in the NBA, it is a business. You need to get results or you're out. And unfortunately, I think 4 years, especially after making a conference finals, you have to at least get past the first round after that. If you don't, that's a disappointment from either coaching, everybody. That's just an organizational failure.
Jackson, what are you thinking?
I mean,
do you want to talk about the next GM too? Because I know you are.
Just wait. Let's just back. We're not talking about him yet. So you look at a GM, like he can't control. Like he obviously has a little bit of say on what's going on the court, but at the end of the day, like he doesn't control everything. He controls which players come in. It's the coach's job or the coaching staff's job to figure out what to do with those players, and he can't help injuries. Like I feel like this year they were a promising team. I think they would have easily made the playoffs this year if Jalen Johnson was still healthy, I think, and we would be talking about this different. He'd still have a job, but since he got injured, he doesn't have a job.
Ifs. So many ifs. There's a lot of
There are a lot of ifs. I will say,
it just doesn't happen.
This particular season, did any of us expect more out of the Atlanta Hawks? Well, I guess, Joe, you did. You did coming into the season.
I expected more. I figured once you got DeJounte Murray out of there, because that DeJounte Murray experiment didn't work, you had a solid team around you, and they were just so inconsistent. At times they were a playoff team, top 6, and then they just were so inconsistent. They just fell into the play-in immediately.
Well, weren't they
I guess having known now that Jalen Johnson would have only played in 36 games, would you have had the Hawks even making the play-in? Because I think a lot of us, if we said Jalen Johnson
was out, I would still have them playing in the play-in. But again, this is a reasonable outcome because he was injured of not even making the playoffs because he is so huge. Trae Young can't do it himself. However, who else do you blame? Do you just keep going to ownership? Here's the thing, guys. Put yourself in Landry Field's shoes. Oh, what if the ownership comes to you and asks you, well, what's happened the last 4 years and why we haven't made it out of the first round over the last 4 years after making a conference finals? We switched coaches because when did he hire Quinn Snyder?
Let's see. This would have been the second half of the first DeJounte team, I believe, in 2023.
So he made the move to get DeJounte. Then because that didn't work, he switched coaches. And then he got rid of DeJounte because that was actually the issue, not coaching. But I also do think Quinn Snyder is a really good coach. So I think it was a good move ultimately. I just don't know from ownership's position. That's where I'm looking from because I don't know what Landry Fields has to say. Just excuses. And they might be viable excuses, but you're a billion-dollar organization trying to compete for a championship every year. The owners are investing so much money. The fans are investing so much money. You need.
I think last thing we'll say on this because this is way more time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It just gets
no. It's okay. I think last thing I'll say on this: if I was Landry Fields and ownership came to me and asked that question, I'd probably say this year I made up for the mistakes that I may have made last year, which I don't even think were mistakes. On paper, they were good roster moves to bring DeJounte Murray in as an all-defensive player to pair alongside Trae Young. That just didn't work, so we're going to trade him at the right time to get a guy that fits better. Mm-hmm. And we have this starting lineup with defenders and versatile players around Trae Young, who's right on the offensive end. And, our second-best player, who was probably the front-runner for most improved and a for-sure all-star, go out. And then that's what happened. We still made the play-in, even though, we missed our second best player off the backs of Trae Young. I made some moves to try to improve our money situation going forward with the Hunter and Bogdanovich trades to get in some picks as well with role players that fit Trae Young. And we lost a game at home. If anything, I'd be disappointed with the way the Hawks lost the game, because I was honestly absolutely disgusted at the way the Hawks came out to start the game on Friday at home, facing elimination against Miami, to give up a 10-0 run immediately to start the game. That's what I would be disappointed with. And I would look at coaching in that situation, that you didn't get your guys ready for a win or go home elimination game at home. That was honestly embarrassing. But if I was Landry Fields, I'd probably just be more slighted at the fact that out of all years, this is the one you fire me. When I think we look at the last few years, even though they finished lower as far as they didn't make the playoffs, I think they had a better year this year than they had last year or the year before. But it's difficult. It's a difficult business. It's a difficult business for sure. And it's very shocking that you see Landry Fields get fired when you have a Nico Harrison interview, and we get more great quotes today, like, "Oh, I knew Luka Doncic was important to the fans in Dallas. I really underestimated how big of an impact he was." Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I'm someone that was on the side, not on the side, but I understood the trade from Nico Harrison's position. But dude, he is making it worse and worse and worse and worse. And Jackson, how's he not? How's he not making it worse?
Dude, again, like, I still like the trade. I don't care what anyone says.
Not about the trade, it's just like how he's handling it.
I mean, I guess maybe he could be handling it better.
There's like one thing that has made the situation any better for the organization that he represents and works for. Like, every time he opens his mouth about it, it is just like an admittance that he was wrong, or like a vague way to kind of avoid it. Like, it's more like a vague way to kind of avoid saying he was wrong, but like, it's just not helping anybody out. It's not helping himself out.
I can see that.
It's exhausting to hear him speak on it, I guess. Like,
it really is. I mean, the fact that he didn't know what level Luka was in. I mean, that's just common sense. You have an MVP, future Hall of Famer in his prime. Like, any one of those guys is going to be important in the community, in the fan base. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable that it's still going on. And the fact that he has this, whatever interview, press conference things, a few days after he has the closed door media session where no one's allowed to bring in a phone or camera or anything like that. And we get some quotes that Tim McMahon from ESPN, my goodness, he did a great job. Just really just digging at Nico Harrison, asking questions, and Nico just sounded clueless. Honestly, he really did.
Defense wins championships.
This is the difference between I'll say between what we were just talking about with Landry Fields, because Landry Fields made good decisions, and I believe he can find a new job. With Nico Harrison, everything he says, I don't think he deserves another GM job after this. I'm sorry.
I'd have to agree at this point.
Because it's boneheaded. Like, regardless of how you feel about the trade, just the things you say, as a GM with a guy like Luka Doncic, you build your team around Luka Doncic, and then you trade him away. And for those years, you build around Luka, and you market Luka. Luka is Dallas. He is the next. Like, that's how you have marketed him ever since he has gotten to Dallas. And now you say, "Oh, I don't know how important I didn't realize how important he was."
Right,
yeah, and saying that he wasn't. There was no guarantee that Luka would have signed a supermax in the summer. We were worried about losing it. No, there was not. There was no way.
You were bad-mouthing him. You called him fat and lazy.
He was bawling his eyes out on the bench. Like, it's ridiculous, dude. And I kind of agree with Jackson about the on-court product once we get Kyrie Irving back on the floor, because again, like we saw for like 2.5 quarters, it looked like a championship caliber team. And we even saw glimpses of it in the play-in game against Sacramento, how having all those bigs can, really slow things down. Yeah. But then we saw the opposite of that in the game where they were eliminated against Memphis on Friday, how And maybe it's because, Kyrie Irving was out, but when you do not have the guard play compared to a Memphis team that had 2 point guards, 2 great, very solid ones with John Morant and Scottie Pippen, it's just not really going to work. Basically what I'm saying is, from what we saw in the 2 play-in games and that Memphis game, I don't think this team is a Kyrie Irving away from being a championship contending team again. And I think
Kyrie and KD.
Maybe Kevin Durant.
Well, hear me out.
Let's not get into this right now.
We're talking about Nico Harris. Like, all right, he made this one move that is good. It could be good, could be bad. We don't know until everything plays out. Let's be honest, we don't know. They could win the championship next year. They could do this, they could do that. But the other moves that he made before that were all the right moves. He built a great even the current roster is a great roster. Trading for PJ Washington, trading for Najee Marshall last year. Great. The Kyrie Irving trade. Everything else that he's been doing has been great. Drafting Derek Lively, getting Daniel Gafford. He's making the right moves. It's just he might have made the wrong move one time, and it might be catastrophic. But
it might be the biggest move, though. That's the thing. It doesn't matter how great all the other moves are if you mess up the biggest one,
And then he bought the shovel. Then he bought a plot of land and started digging his own grave while we're at it.
Well, look, Jackson, I agree. Nico Harrison, we were praising him at this time last year for the moves he made. Because, of course, Kyrie Irving, PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, getting Derek Jones. The great moves. But this year, there has not been anything good once, once the season started, after Clay and Najee Marshall came to the team. Once the season started, we have the Luka trade, and then we get the Quentin Grimes for Caleb Martin trade, which his explanation for that may have been even worse than this Luka trade, saying nothing about Quentin Grimes, saying he was saying we didn't really want to keep Quentin Grimes. We really want Caleb Martin. What are we doing? This entire year might just be a complete, just a complete failure on his part of it. And I agree. He's made great moves in the past. He built a very good finals team last year. But thinking that after losing to Boston in 5 games, thinking that the way to get better was to trade Luka is just not it. And that's where I say, it doesn't matter how great your decisions are. If your biggest decision is that garbage, then it does not matter. And he should get canned in the offseason. I really do. I would be surprised if he came into next season as their general manager. Besides, if the front office, if the ownership is all right, you made this big trade, you should be the one to see out this decision and see how it plays out.
That's what I think is going to happen as well. I think they're going to, if they are, regardless, if it's an injury-riddled season next year as well, God forbid it happens, because I would love to be proven wrong. I'm low-key a Dallas fan, but again, I've hated this trade. But I would love to be proven wrong and to see this work out. However, I just don't see it. I just don't see the possibility. And if it's an injury-riddled season next year, even if Kyrie and AD are out 40 games next year, half the season they're out and they're having a terrible year, he should still be fired. Doesn't matter. It's just not working. It's just not it, regardless of what the injuries and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think they should let him see it out, but I would also not be surprised if they fired him in the offseason.
I think it's funny that people are blaming Mark Cuban still.
That's wild to me.
That's crazy if that's actually true.
Oh, every comment section on any Nico Harrison post or anything, I see people saying, "Well, why did Mark Cuban sell the team?" It's because he made $6 billion off of it.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with this decision.
What? Of course he would have kept Luka, but at the end of the day, they should have kept Luka either way.
Yeah, they should have. And like Jackson, you said, you're right. I mean, we're not going to really see how this plays out till at least next, summer, when we get to see what this team does look like fully healthy and if they make any other moves, going forward. But that is all we got for this episode. We went very long, but this This is a great episode. This is one of the better episodes that we've had here, recapping all the game ones. Cannot wait to come back here on Friday at the midway point of a lot of these series to break down some more playoff hoops.
Yes, sir.
So last time I'll say it again, this is the place to be, baby.
This is the place to be. Every day during the week, we will also be having the Runnin The Paint recaps, talking in depth about each individual playoff game and the ins and outs of all of those. So make sure you stay tuned for that, as well as the full podcast. You guys have anything else before we get out of here?
No. I don't think so.
Go Rockets.
Well, go Rockets, go Cavs, go Mavs.
No.
No, okay. All right. Well, if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA postseason content. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.
Bye.